The barn door creaked open, and 6-year-old Emma froze. Her little red dress fluttered in the morning breeze as she stared at what lay hidden inside. 4 massive German shepherds sat in a perfect line, watching her with eyes that held secrets too heavy for words. But it was the leader, the one with the scar over his left eye, who rose slowly and walked toward her as if he'd been waiting his entire life for this moment. Behind Emma, Shadow growled, and somewhere in the distance, engines roared to life. Someone was coming. Before we continue, drop your city in the comments. Subscribe and stay until the end. This story will show you what loyalty really means and what happens when the innocent become heroes. Emma Mitchell woke up the same way she always did, with Shadow's wet nose pressed against her cheek. "Shadow, stop!" She giggled, pushing the German shepherd away. "You're tickling me." The dog's tail wagged furiously, his amber eyes bright with morning energy. He'd been doing this every day, since Emma could remember, since before Mommy went to heaven, since Daddy brought them to this farm in the middle of nowhere. Emma sat up and rubbed her eyes. Sunlight streamed through her window, painting golden stripes across her bedroom floor. She looked at the photograph on her nightstand, Mommy smiling holding baby Emma, with Shadow sitting proudly beside them. "Good morning, Mommy," Emma whispered. She touched the frame gently the way Daddy had taught her. Shadow whimpered and licked her hand. "I know, boy. I miss her too." Emma climbed out of bed and pulled on her favorite red dress, the last one Mommy had given her before the accident. It was getting small now, but Emma refused to wear anything else for her morning chores. Red was Mommy's favorite color. She padded down the hallway, Shadow at her heels, and found her father's bedroom door open. The bed was made, the room empty. Daddy always woke up before the sun. Emma knew why. He didn't sleep well anymore. She'd heard him pacing at night, talking to himself, sometimes crying when he thought she couldn't hear. Navy SEALs weren't supposed to cry, at least that's what the kids at her old school said, but Emma knew better. Everyone cried, even heroes. She found him in the kitchen, standing over the stove, flipping pancakes with the focus of a man disarming a bomb. "Morning, Daddy." Ryan Mitchell turned, and his weathered face softened into a smile. At 38, he still had the build of the warrior. He'd been broad shoulders, strong arms, the kind of presence that made rooms feel smaller. But his eyes had changed since Sarah died. They carried weight now, shadows that never quite lifted. "Morning, sweetheart. Blueberry or chocolate chip?" "Both?" "Both it is." He scooped a pancake onto her plate and added a dollop of whipped cream. "Big day today. Gotta feed the chickens and check on Butterscotch." Butterscotch was the goat who'd had babies last month. Emma had named all 4 of them after Disney princesses. "Need help?" "Daddy, I'm 6. I can do it myself." Ryan laughed, a rare sound these days. "Yes, ma'am. My apologies." Emma ate quickly, her legs swinging under the chair, humming a song she'd learned at Sunday school. Shadow sat beside her, eyes fixed on her plate with obvious longing. "No pancakes for you," she said sternly. "You had breakfast already." Shadow's ears drooped dramatically. "That won't work on me." It absolutely worked on her. She slipped him a piece under the table, and his tail wagged in silent victory. After breakfast, Emma grabbed her basket and headed outside. The farm stretched before her, 40 acres of Montana wilderness, surrounded by mountains that touched the sky. They'd moved here 2 years ago, right after Mommy's funeral. Daddy said they needed space, peace, a place to heal. Emma wasn't sure if they'd healed yet, but she loved it here. She loved the animals, the fresh air, the way stars filled the sky at night like diamonds on black velvet. She fed the chickens first, counting them like Daddy taught her, all 12 present and accounted for. Then she visited Butterscotch and her babies, spending extra time scratching behind Belle's ears because Belle was her favorite. It was on her way back that she noticed something strange. The old barn, the one Daddy never used, the one he kept padlocked, had its door open. Emma stopped. Shadow stopped beside her, his body tensing. "That's weird," Emma murmured. She knew she wasn't supposed to go near the old barn. Daddy had made that very clear. Dangerous, he'd said. Old wood, rusty nails. Stay away, Emma. But the door was open, and Emma could hear something inside. Breathing. Not one breath. Many. Shadow's growl rumbled low in his throat. Shh, Emma whispered. It's okay. It wasn't okay. She knew that. But curiosity pulled at her like a fish on a line, dragging her forward step by step. She reached the barn door and pushed it wider. The hinges screamed in protest. Sunlight flooded the dusty interior, illuminating floating particles that danced like tiny fairies. Emma squinted, waiting for her eyes to adjust. And then she saw them. 4 German shepherds sat in a perfect row, their posture rigid, their eyes fixed directly on her. They were beautiful and terrifying all at once. Muscles coiled beneath their coats, ears pointed forward, bodies still as statues. But they weren't attacking. They weren't even barking. They were waiting. Emma's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Hello, the dog in the center. The largest one, with a scar running over his left eye, tilted his head slightly, studying her, assessing her. Emma noticed the tags hanging from their collars, metal glinting in the light. She couldn't read them from here, but she knew what they meant. Police dogs, like the ones she'd seen in picture books. Are you lost? She whispered. The scarred dog rose slowly. His movement was fluid, controlled, nothing like the playful bounce of Shadow's steps. This dog moved like Daddy moved, with purpose, with power, with something dangerous sleeping beneath the surface. Emma should have run. She should have screamed for Daddy. She should have done anything except stand there like a statue herself. But she couldn't move, because the dog's eyes, deep brown, almost black, held something she recognized. Sadness. The same sadness she saw in Daddy's eyes every night. The same sadness she felt whenever she looked at Mommy's photograph. You're sad, Emma breathed. Like us. The dog stopped 3 feet from her. Behind him, the other 3 hadn't moved, but their eyes tracked every breath she took. Shadow pressed against Emma's leg, growling louder now. It's okay, Shadow. Emma reached down to pat him. I don't think they want to hurt us. The scarred dog lowered his head slowly, not in aggression, but in something that looked almost like a bow. Then very gently he pressed his nose against Emma's small palm. His breath was warm. His fur was coarse but not unpleasant. And when Emma looked into his eyes up close, she saw something that made her heart squeeze. Recognition. This dog knew her. Do you know me? The dog's tail moved just once, barely a twitch, but it was enough. Emma turned and ran. Daddy! Daddy! Ryan was cleaning his hunting rifle when he heard Emma screaming. The sound cut through him like a blade, activating instincts that 2 years of civilian life hadn't dulled. He grabbed the rifle and sprinted outside. Emma was running toward him, her red dress flying behind her, Shadow keeping pace at her side. Her face was flushed, her eyes wide, but she wasn't crying. She wasn't scared. She was excited. Emma, what happened? Are you hurt? Daddy, come quick. There are dogs in the old barn, police dogs, 4 of them, and they know me. Daddy, they know me. Ryan's blood turned to ice. What did you say? Police dogs with the metal tags and everything. One has a scar on his eye, and he came right up to me and... Stay here. But Daddy? Emma, stay. Here. His voice was sharp enough to make her flinch, and he hated himself for it. But he couldn't think about that right now. Couldn't think about anything except the impossible thing his daughter had just told him. He walked toward the old barn rifle, raised heart, hammering against his ribs. It couldn't be them. It couldn't. They were dead. He'd been told they were dead. 2 years ago, the same week Sarah died. The dogs have been eliminated, his former commander had said. Loose ends tied up. You're safe now. But Ryan hadn't felt safe. Not for a single day since. He reached the barn door still hanging open. Took a breath. Stepped inside. And there they were. 4 German shepherds sitting in perfect formation, watching him with eyes that burned with recognition. Thunder, Storm, Ranger, Luna. His team. The dogs he'd trained from puppies. The dogs who'd served beside him in operations so classified they didn't officially exist. The dogs who'd saved his life more times than he could count. The dogs he'd thought were dead. "No," Ryan whispered. "No, this isn't possible." Thunder rose and walked toward him the same way he'd walked toward Emma. Slow, deliberate, respectful. Ryan's rifle lowered without his permission. Thunder. The dog stopped in front of him and sat his scarred face, lifted his tail, finally wagging in earnest. "How are you alive? How did you find me?" Thunder barked once. A sharp, authoritative sound, and the other 3 dogs rose as one. They approached and formed a circle around Ryan, pressing their bodies against his legs, their warmth seeping through his jeans. Ryan dropped to his knees, and for the first time in 2 years, he wept. Not silent tears. Not the controlled grief of a soldier. He sobbed like a child, burying his face in Thunder's fur, while Storm licked his cheek and Ranger pressed against his back and Luna whimpered at his feet. "I thought I lost you. I thought I lost everyone." Thunder nuzzled his neck as if to say, "We're here. We found you. We never gave up." Ryan didn't know how long he stayed there, surrounded by the ghosts of his past. But when he finally looked up, wiping his eyes, Emma was standing in the doorway. "Daddy, why are you crying?" He should have been angry. He'd told her to stay put. But he couldn't summon anger, not now, not when everything he'd believed for 2 years was crumbling around him. "Come here, sweetheart." Emma walked over slowly, Shadow following. The police dogs made room for her, shifting their formation to include her in their circle. "Daddy, do you know these dogs?" "Yes, baby. I know them." Ryan's voice cracked. "They were my team. Before you were born. Before everything. Your team like Shadow." Like Shadow, but different. We did important work together. Dangerous work. And then some bad people tried to hurt us, and I thought... He stopped, unable to continue. Emma knelt beside Thunder and looked into his scarred face. "He's sad, I can tell. We're all sad, sweetheart. But he's here now. They all are." Emma patted Thunder's head with the gentle confidence of a child who didn't understand fear. "That means it's going to be okay, right?" Ryan wanted to believe her. God, how he wanted to believe her, but he knew better. These dogs hadn't appeared by accident. Someone had kept them alive, hidden them, trained them to find this exact place. And if that someone knew where Ryan was hiding, then everything he'd sacrificed, Sarah's life, his career, his sanity, had been for nothing. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby. Thunder's trying to show me something." Ryan looked down. The scarred dog was pawing at the collar around his neck, looking at Emma with urgent intensity. "What is it, boy?" Thunder sat still as Emma's small fingers fumbled with his collar. There was something attached to it, a small cylinder barely visible beneath the fur. Emma pulled it free. "It's a tube, like the ones they put messages in." Ryan's hands shook as he took it from her. He unscrewed the cap and pulled out a tightly rolled piece of paper. A photograph. And a note. The photograph showed Emma as a toddler, maybe 2 years old, sitting on a blanket in the grass, surrounded by 4 German shepherds. She was laughing, her tiny hands buried in Thunder's fur, while Storm licked her face, and Ranger and Luna watched over her like guardian angels. Ryan remembered that day. It was the last good day before everything fell apart. His eyes moved to the note written in handwriting he would recognize anywhere. Sarah's handwriting. "My darling Ryan, if you're reading this, then Thunder found you. I knew he would. I knew they all would. I'm sorry for the secrets. I'm sorry for the lies. But I had to protect you and Emma, even if it meant you would hate me. The dogs know the truth. They've carried it with them for 2 years, waiting for the right moment. Trust them. Trust Thunder. And trust our daughter. She's braver than you know. The evidence is buried where you made your promise to me. The dogs will lead you there. I love you. I always will. Stay safe. Stay strong. Sarah. Ryan read the note 3 times before the words made sense. Sarah had known. She'd known about the corruption, the conspiracy, the men who wanted them dead. She'd hidden evidence. She'd saved the dogs. She'd planned for the moment when they would all need the truth. And she'd died before she could tell him any of it. Daddy! What does it say? Ryan looked at his daughter, this tiny, fearless girl in her red dress with her mother's eyes and her mother's courage. It says Mommy loved us. Very, very much. I know that already. I know you do. He folded the note carefully and slipped it into his pocket. Emma, I need you to do something very important. Can you do that for Daddy? Yes. I need you to go back to the house with Shadow. Lock all the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me. Can you do that? Emma's face scrunched with worry. Why is something bad going to happen? Ryan looked at Thunder, who was staring toward the horizon with an alertness that sent chills down his spine. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. He walked Emma back to the house, made sure she was inside with Shadow, and returned to the barn. The 4 dogs were waiting exactly where he'd left them, their posture tense, their eyes scanning the surroundings. All right, Ryan said. What do you know that I don't? Thunder barked and trotted to the barn door, looking back expectantly. You want me to follow? Another bark. Ryan grabbed his rifle and followed the dog out of the barn. Storm Ranger and Luna fell into formation behind him, covering his flanks the way they had 1,000 times before. They walked for nearly a mile through fields of tall grass and over rocky outcrops until they reached a spot Ryan knew well. A clearing beside a stream surrounded by wildflowers. The place where he'd proposed to Sarah. Thunder stopped and began to dig. Here. Ryan knelt down. The evidence is here. The dog kept digging, his powerful paws moving earth with mechanical efficiency. Storm joined him, then Ranger, until they'd excavated a hole 2 feet deep. Ryan reached inside and pulled out a metal box sealed with a combination lock. He knew the combination without thinking. Their wedding anniversary. Inside were folders, dozens of them, along with flash drives, photographs, and documents stamped with official seals. Ryan flipped through them, his horror growing with each page. Names of corrupt officials. Dates of illegal operations. Financial records showing millions in bribes. Photographs of meetings that shouldn't have happened. And at the bottom, a document that made his blood freeze. A termination order, signed by Captain Victor Kane, for the elimination of Sarah Mitchell, Ryan Mitchell, and all associated K9 units. My God, Ryan breathed. He killed her. Kane killed my wife. Thunder pressed against his leg, whimpering softly. And he's still out there, still breathing, while she's... Ryan couldn't finish the sentence. Rage and grief warred inside him, threatening to tear him apart. But then he heard something that cut through the chaos. Engines. Multiple vehicles coming fast. He looked up and saw dust clouds rising on the horizon. 3 trucks, maybe 4, heading straight for his farm. Straight for Emma. Ryan grabbed the metal box and ran. He ran faster than he'd ever run in his life, the dogs sprinting beside him, their bodies moving like missiles across the terrain. His lungs burned, his legs screamed, but he didn't slow down. He couldn't slow down. Emma was alone. He burst out of the trees just as the first truck pulled up to his house. Men in black tactical gear poured out their weapons, raised their movements coordinated with military precision, and leading them, stepping out of the lead vehicle with a smile that hadn't aged a day, was Captain Victor Kane. Ryan Mitchell, Kane's voice carried across the farm. Been a long time, Commander. Ryan skidded to a halt, rifle raised, 5 dogs arrayed around him like a wall of teeth and fury. Kane, I thought you were dead. Death is convenient when you have friends in high places. Kane spread his arms. I heard you found some old friends of mine. I've come to collect them. These dogs don't belong to you. Everything belongs to me, Ryan. The dogs. The evidence. Your daughter. Kane's smile widened. Especially your daughter. Ryan's finger tightened on the trigger. You stay away from her, or what you'll shoot me in front of all my men. Kane gestured at the dozen armed soldiers surrounding the farmhouse. Be reasonable, Commander. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and that little girl is all alone in there. As if on cue, the front door opened, and Emma stepped out. She was still wearing her red dress. Her blonde hair glowed in the sunlight, and in her arms she held something that made Ryan's heart stop. A photograph, the same photograph from Thunder's collar. You leave my daddy alone! Emma shouted, her small voice carrying with surprising strength. You're a bad man. I know you're a bad man. Kane laughed. A spirited child, just like her mother. You don't talk about Mommy. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't run, didn't hide. Mommy was good. You're evil. Shadow stood beside her, growling, his body positioned between Emma and the approaching soldiers. Kane stopped laughing. His face hardened into something cruel. Enough games. Take the girl, kill the dogs, and bring Mitchell to me alive. He paused, considering. Actually wound him first. I want him to watch. The soldiers moved forward. Thunder howled, a sound that cut through the morning air like a blade, and everything exploded into chaos. Thunder's howl still echoed across the farm when the first soldier reached for Emma. Shadow moved faster than anyone expected. The German Shepherd launched himself at the man's arm, teeth sinking deep into tactical fabric and flesh beneath. The soldier screamed, stumbling backward, his weapon clattering to the ground. Shadow, no! Emma shrieked. But Shadow wasn't stopping. He released the first man and pivoted to face the second, positioning himself between Emma and the advancing threat with the ferocity of a wolf protecting its cub. Ryan didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle and fired twice. Not to kill, not yet, but to scatter. The shots hit the dirt at the soldiers' feet, sending them diving for cover. Emma, inside now. But Emma couldn't move. Her legs had turned to stone. Her eyes wide with terror as chaos erupted around her. Thunder sprinted toward her, his scarred face a mask of determination. He reached her in seconds, pressing his massive body against her legs, physically pushing her toward the door. Thunder, I can't. The dog barked once, sharp and commanding, and Emma's legs finally obeyed. She ran inside Thunder, following the door slamming shut behind them. Outside, Kane's voice cut through the gunfire. Hold your fire, hold! The shooting stopped. Ryan stood alone in the open Storm Ranger, and Luna flanking him, their bodies coiled and ready. Shadow had somehow made it back to his side, blood on his muzzle that wasn't his own. Impressive, Commander. Kane stepped forward, hands clasped behind his back, utterly unconcerned by the violence. You still have the instincts, but instincts won't save you today. Let my daughter go. This is between us. No, Ryan. This stopped being between us the moment your wife decided to play hero. She gathered evidence. She turned my own dogs against me. She thought she could bring me down. Kane's smile twisted into something ugly. I showed her what happens to heroes. You murdered her. I removed a threat. There's a difference. Ryan's finger twitched on the trigger. It would be so easy. One shot. Right between Kane's eyes. But there were 12 soldiers surrounding him, and Emma was inside with only Thunder for protection. What do you want? The evidence. All of it. And the dogs. Kane gestured at the 4 canines. They're government property. Highly valuable government property that was supposed to be destroyed 2 years ago. Someone kept them alive. Someone trained them to find you. Sarah. Obviously, your wife was annoyingly clever. Kane took another step closer. But she's dead now. You're not. Which means you have a choice to make, Commander. Give me what I want, and you and your daughter walk away. Refuse and... He shrugged. Well, accidents happen on remote farms. Ryan's mind raced. He couldn't fight 12 men. He couldn't risk Emma's life. But he also couldn't give Kane the evidence, the only thing that could bring justice for Sarah. I need time to think. You have 30 seconds. That's not enough. 25 seconds. Storm growled, her hackles rising. Ranger and Luna shifted into attack positions, reading Ryan's tension like a language only they understood. 20 seconds. Emma's face appeared at the window. She was crying. Her small hands pressed against the glass, her mouth forming words Ryan couldn't hear. Daddy. 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 15 seconds. Ryan looked at his daughter, at the dogs who had crossed impossible distances to find him, at the metal box of evidence clutched in his hands. Sarah had died for this. 10 seconds, and Emma was watching. 5. All right. Ryan lowered his rifle. All right. You win. Kane's smile returned. Smart man. Put down the weapon and kick the box over. Ryan placed the rifle on the ground, but before he could kick the box, Shadow suddenly barked 3 sharp sounds that made all 4 police dogs snap to attention. It was a signal, a command. Ryan recognized it immediately. Evade and protect. Thunder burst through the farmhouse door. Emma clutched in his jaws by the back of her dress, carrying her like a puppy as he sprinted toward the tree line. What the? Kane spun around. Stop that dog. But the other dogs were already moving. Storm and Ranger launched themselves at the nearest soldiers, not to attack, but to obstruct, tripping, shoving, creating chaos. Luna darted between legs, snatching weapons and dragging them away. Shadow grabbed Ryan's rifle in his mouth and ran. In the span of 5 seconds, the entire formation collapsed into pandemonium. Ryan didn't waste the opportunity. He grabbed the metal box and sprinted after Thunder, his legs pumping, his heart screaming. Behind him, Kane's voice thundered across the farm. After them, all of you now! The forest swallowed them whole. Ryan ran until his lungs burned, following the sound of Thunder's paws crashing through underbrush. The dogs moved with purpose, guiding him deeper into the wilderness away from Kane and his men. Finally, Thunder stopped beside a massive fallen oak tree. He set Emma down gently, and she immediately threw her arms around his neck. That was scary. That was so scary. Ryan dropped to his knees and pulled her close. Are you hurt? Emma? Are you hurt anywhere? No, Daddy. Thunder carried me. He was really fast. Ryan looked at the scarred dog who was watching the direction they'd come with unwavering vigilance. Thank you, Ryan whispered. Thank you for saving her. Thunder's tail wagged once, but his eyes never left the trees. Storm, Ranger, Luna, and Shadow caught up moments later, panting but uninjured. They immediately formed a perimeter around Ryan and Emma, their bodies creating a wall of protection. Daddy, what do we do now? Emma's voice trembled. The bad men are going to find us. No, they won't. But they have guns and... Emma, listen to me. Ryan took her face in his hands. Daddy was a soldier, a very good soldier. And these dogs were my team. We've faced bad men before, and we've always won. Always. Ryan thought of the missions that had gone wrong, the friends he'd lost, the scars he carried. Always when it mattered most. Emma sniffled but nodded. Okay, Daddy. I trust you. Those 3 words hit Ryan harder than any bullet ever had. I trust you. Sarah had said the same thing to him once, the night before she died, the night he'd told her they were safe, that Kane wouldn't find them, that everything was going to be okay. He'd been wrong then. He couldn't be wrong now. We need to move, Ryan said. There's a cabin about 3 miles north. Old hunting shelter. Kane doesn't know about it. 3 miles. Emma looked down at her small legs. I don't know if I can walk that far. Thunder immediately lowered himself to the ground, looking at Emma expectantly. I think he wants you to ride him, Ryan said. Like a horse. Like a very furry, very loyal horse. Emma climbed onto Thunder's back, wrapping her arms around his neck. The dog rose smoothly, adjusting his gait to keep her balanced. This is amazing. Despite everything, Emma giggled. Daddy, look, I'm riding Thunder. Ryan's heart cracked and healed at the same time. Hold on tight, sweetheart, and stay quiet. Can you do that? Yes, Daddy. They moved through the forest like ghosts, the dogs navigating terrain that would have been treacherous for humans alone. Shadow took point, his nose constantly sampling the air. Storm and Ranger covered the flanks. Luna brought up the rear, her ears swiveling to catch any sound of pursuit. An hour passed. Then 2. The sun climbed higher, but the forest canopy kept them in perpetual shadow. Emma dozed on Thunder's back, her small body exhausted from fear and adrenaline. Finally, they reached the cabin. It was old, but solid. A structure Ryan had discovered during his first month on the farm, back when he'd walked every inch of his property looking for threats. He'd stocked it with supplies just in case. Just in case had arrived. Ryan carried Emma inside while the dog secured the perimeter. She woke as he laid her on a dusty cot. Where are we? Safe house. We can rest here. Are the bad men gone? For now. Emma yawned. I'm hungry. Ryan found canned soup and crackers in his emergency supplies. He heated the soup over a small propane burner while Emma sat on the floor surrounded by 5 exhausted dogs. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart. The letter from Mommy. What else did it say? Ryan's hand paused over the pot. I told you. It said she loved us. But there was more. I saw you reading for a long time. Too perceptive. Just like Sarah. Mommy left us a mission, Emma. A mission like soldiers do. Yes, she found out that some bad people were doing bad things. She gathered proof evidence so they could be punished. But before she could finish, Ryan's throat closed. They hurt her, Emma said quietly. That's why she's in heaven. Yes. And the bad man at our farm. He's the one who hurt her. Yes. Emma's small face hardened with an expression that looked far too old for 6. Then we have to finish Mommy's mission. Ryan stared at his daughter. What did you say? We have to finish it. That's what Mommy wanted, right? That's why Thunder came. That's why the dogs found us. Emma's eyes, so much like Sarah's, burned with determination. We can't let the bad man win, Daddy. Mommy wouldn't want that. Ryan felt tears threatening. No, baby. She wouldn't. So we fight, like soldiers. Emma, you're 6 years old. You can't. I can help. I'm small, so I can hide in places grown-ups can't. And Thunder protects me. And Shadow, too. She crossed her arms. I'm part of the team now, Daddy. Mommy made me part of the team when she sent Thunder to find me. Ryan wanted to argue. Wanted to lock her somewhere safe and handle this alone. But he looked at Thunder, who was watching Emma with something like pride. At Shadow, whose tail wagged at the mention of his name. At Storm, Ranger, and Luna, who had arranged themselves around the little girl as if she were the most precious thing in the world. They'd accepted her. And maybe, just maybe, she was right. Okay, Ryan said finally. You're part of the team, but you have to follow orders. Every order, no questions. Yes, sir. Emma saluted, the gesture sloppy but earnest. Despite everything, Ryan laughed. All right, soldier. First order, eat your soup before it gets cold. Yes, sir. Night fell over the forest, turning the world into shades of black and silver. Ryan stood watch at the cabin window, while Emma slept curled up with Thunder and Shadow on either side of her. The other 3 dogs patrolled outside, taking shifts, their training evident in every precise movement. Ryan used the time to go through the evidence more carefully. Sarah had been thorough, meticulous. She'd documented everything: Kane's illegal weapons deals, the bribes to federal officials, the assassinations disguised as accidents. There were names, Ryan recognized names that made his blood run cold. Senators, generals, judges. This wasn't just corruption. This was a network. A machine of power and greed that stretched from Montana to Washington, D.C., and his wife had tried to bring it down alone. Damn it, Sarah, he whispered. Why didn't you tell me? But he knew why. Sarah had wanted to protect him. Protect Emma. She'd thought she could handle it herself, gather enough evidence to make the whole thing public before anyone realized what she was doing. She'd underestimated them. They hadn't underestimated her. A soft whimper made Ryan turn. Thunder had risen from Emma's side and was staring at the door, his body rigid. "What is it, boy?" Thunder's growl was barely audible, more vibration than sound. Something was out there. Ryan grabbed his rifle and moved to the door. He opened it a crack, peering into the darkness. Luna appeared from the shadows, her ears flat against her head. Behind her was a figure human, stumbling, clearly injured. Ryan raised his weapon. "Stop right there. Hands where I can see them." The figure collapsed. "Please." A woman's voice, weak and desperate. "Please help me. They're coming." Ryan hesitated. It could be a trap. Kane was clever enough to use bait, but Luna was nudging the woman, whimpering, trying to help her up. Luna wouldn't do that for an enemy. Ryan stepped outside, rifle still ready, and approached the fallen figure. It was a woman in her 50s, silver-haired, wearing what looked like a sheriff's uniform, torn and dirty from travel. Blood soaked through a makeshift bandage on her arm. "Who are you?" "Martha Collins." The woman looked up, her weathered face twisted with pain. "Sheriff Martha Collins. Sarah sent me a message, years ago. Said if anything happened, find her family." Ryan's heart stopped. "You knew my wife." "I was supposed to help her. The night she died, I was supposed to be there. But they got to me first. Shot me. Left me for dead." Martha coughed. "I've been hiding ever since. Watching. Waiting. When the dogs moved, I followed." "You followed them for how long?" 3 days. They didn't trust me at first, but then..." She looked at Luna, who was still trying to help her up. "She remembered me. I was there when they were puppies. I helped Sarah hide them after Kane ordered their termination." Ryan's mind reeled. "You saved the dogs." "Sarah saved the dogs. I just found them a safe place to hide until the time was right." Martha grabbed Ryan's arm with surprising strength. "It's right now, Commander. Kane's network is more vulnerable than it's ever been. But he knows it. That's why he came for you personally. He's scared. Scared men are dangerous. Scared men make mistakes." Martha's eyes burned. "Sarah gave everything to bring him down. I almost died for it. These dogs have been waiting for 2 years." Her grip tightened. "It's time to finish this. For Sarah. For all of them." Ryan looked back at the cabin where Emma slept, surrounded by loyal guardians. "I have a daughter. I can't..." "Your daughter is why you have to fight." Martha's voice cracked. "What kind of world do you want her to grow up in? One where men like Kane win? Or one where justice still means something?" The question hung in the air between them. Ryan thought of Sarah, of the evidence she'd gathered, of the mission she'd died trying to complete, of Emma saluting him with her sloppy little gesture, declaring herself part of the team. "We can't let the bad man win, Daddy. Mommy wouldn't want that." "All right," Ryan said. "We fight. But we do it smart. We do it together. And we make sure my daughter is protected no matter what." Martha nodded. "I know people. FBI agents I trust. Journalists who can't be bought. If we can get the evidence to them, we will." Ryan helped her to her feet. "But first we need to get out of these woods. Kane's men are still searching. I know a way. Old mining tunnels about a mile east. They connect to the main road on the other side of the mountain." Martha winced as she put weight on her injured leg. "It's how I got this close without being spotted." Ryan looked at Thunder, who had emerged from the cabin. "Can you lead us there, boy?" Thunder's response was immediate. He moved to stand beside Martha, sniffing her wound, then looking up at Ryan with clear intent. "Trust her. She's with us." "Okay." Ryan moved back inside, gently waking Emma. "Baby, we need to move." "Now it's dark." "I know, but we found a friend. Someone who knew Mommy. She's going to help us." Emma rubbed her eyes and saw Martha standing in the doorway supported by Luna. She's hurt. Yes. Then we have to help her. Emma climbed off the cot without complaint. That's what the good guys do, right? Ryan's heart swelled. That's exactly right. They gathered their supplies and headed into the night, 6 humans and 5 dogs moving through darkness toward an uncertain dawn. But for the first time since Sarah died, Ryan felt something he'd thought was lost forever. Hope. And behind them, closing in with every passing minute, Kane's forces surged on. The hunt wasn't over. It was just beginning. The mining tunnels stretched before them like the throat of some ancient beast, black and endless and cold. Emma clutched Thunder's fur with one hand and her father's jacket with the other. The darkness was so complete that she couldn't see her own feet, but Thunder moved with certainty, guiding her steps with gentle pressure against her legs. Daddy, I'm scared. I know, baby, but Thunder won't let anything hurt you. What if the bad men find us? Then we fight, together. Martha limped ahead using a small flashlight to navigate. Her breathing was labored, the wound on her arm seeping through its bandage, but she refused to slow down. How much further? Ryan asked. Half a mile, maybe less. Martha stopped, suddenly holding up her hand. Wait! Everyone froze. In the silence, Ryan heard its footsteps echoing from somewhere behind them, multiple sets moving fast. They're in the tunnels, Martha whispered. How did they find us? Kane has trackers. Military grade. They probably tagged one of the dogs without us noticing. Ryan looked at his team, Thunder, Storm Ranger, Luna, Shadow. All of them watching him, waiting for orders. Which one? Does it matter? We need to move. Now. They ran. Emma bounced on Thunder's back as the dog sprinted through darkness, his paws finding purchase on the uneven ground with supernatural precision. Shadow ran beside them, his growl a constant rumble in his chest. The footsteps behind them grew louder. Split up! Martha shouted. There's a fork ahead, Ryan. Take Emma and go left. I'll draw them right. No, you're injured. You can't. I've been running from these bastards for 2 years. I know what I'm doing. Martha grabbed his arm, her eyes fierce in the flashlight's glow. Get your daughter to safety. Get the evidence out. That's what Sarah would want. Ryan hesitated. Go. Martha pushed him. Storm Ranger with me. The 2 dogs immediately moved to flank the sheriff, their loyalty transferred in an instant. Luna, Thunder, Shadow protect the child. The fork appeared in the darkness. Martha veered right. Storm and Ranger, following her flashlight, bobbing away until it vanished entirely. Ryan went left, carrying Emma now because Thunder couldn't navigate the increasingly narrow passage while bearing weight. Luna led the way, her nose low to the ground, while Shadow guarded their rear. Behind them, shouts echoed through the tunnels. They went this way. No, there are tracks here too. Split up. Find them. Ryan pressed on his lungs, burning his legs, screaming. Emma buried her face in his neck, her small body trembling. It's okay, baby. We're almost there. What about Martha and Storm and Ranger? They'll be fine. They're strong. He didn't know if that was true. He prayed it was true. The tunnel began to slope upward. Fresh air drifted from somewhere ahead, carrying the scent of pine and rain. Almost there, Ryan gasped. Almost. Luna stopped. Her body went rigid, a warning growl rising from her throat. Ryan froze. Ahead, blocking the exit, stood 2 of Kane's soldiers. Their weapons were raised, their flashlights blinding. Commander Mitchell. One of them smiled. End of the line. Ryan set Emma down slowly, positioning himself between her and the guns. Let my daughter go. She's just a child. Orders are orders. The boss wants the whole package. Thunder stepped forward. His scarred face illuminated by the flashlights, his teeth bared in a silent snarl. That dog comes any closer, I'll put it down, the soldier warned. You could try. Ryan's voice was ice, but you'd be dead before your finger touched the trigger. Big words from a man with no weapon. I don't need a weapon. The soldier's smile wavered. In the years since leaving the SEALs, Ryan had let many skills rust, but not this one. Never this one. He'd memorized every inch of these men's stances, the way the first one favored his left leg, the way the second kept his finger outside the trigger guard amateur, the way both of them were focused on him and ignoring the dogs. Mistake. Luna, Shadow, Fass. The German word for attack cut through the air like a blade. Both dogs exploded into motion. Luna hit the first soldier's gun arm, her jaws clamping down with enough force to shatter bone. The weapon went flying, the man's scream echoing through the tunnel. Shadow went for the second soldier's legs, sweeping them out from under him, with a technique that Ryan himself had trained into the dog years ago. Ryan moved before either man hit the ground. He drove his elbow into the first soldier's temple, one strike clean and precise. The man collapsed. The second soldier scrambled for his fallen weapon, but Thunder was there, one massive paw pinning the gun to the ground, teeth inches from the man's face. Please, the soldier whimpered. Please don't let it kill me. Ryan knelt beside him. Where's Kane? I don't know, I swear he only contacts us by radio. Then you're useless. Ryan's fist connected with the man's jaw, and silence fell. Emma watched with wide eyes. Daddy, you hurt them. They were going to hurt us, sweetheart. I know, but... She looked at the unconscious soldiers, then at her father's bloody knuckles. You're really strong. I had to be, to protect you. Emma nodded slowly. Okay. I'm glad you're strong. Ryan pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. Me too, baby, me too. They emerged from the tunnel into the pale light of dawn. The forest spread before them, endless and wild, but in the distance, Ryan could see a road civilization safety hope. We made it, he breathed. What about Martha? Emma asked. As if in answer, an explosion rocked the mountain behind them. Ryan spun around. Smoke poured from multiple tunnel entrances, the sound of gunfire echoing across the valley. No! Thunder barked urgently, tugging at Ryan's sleeve. She's still in there. We have to help her. But Luna was pulling in the opposite direction toward the road, her message clear. Protect the child. Complete the mission. Ryan stood frozen, torn between loyalty and duty. Daddy! Emma's voice was small. What do we do? Before he could answer, figures emerged from the smoke. Martha limping badly, blood streaming down her face. Storm carrying something in her mouth looked like a radio. And Ranger, his coat singed, but his eyes bright, dragging an unconscious man behind him. Go! Martha screamed. It's rigged. The whole mountain is rigged. Another explosion closer this time. Ryan grabbed Emma and ran. The dogs followed, all 5 of them, now reunited, their formation perfect even in chaos. Martha stumbled alongside, fueled by pure adrenaline. They reached the road just as the third explosion brought down the tunnel entrance behind them, sealing it forever. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then, Emma laughed. It was a strange sound in the aftermath of violence, bright and clear and utterly inappropriate. But somehow, it was exactly what they all needed. We did it. We beat the bad guys. Martha collapsed against a tree, breathing hard. Not yet, little one. Kane's still out there. But we got away. This time, he won't give up. Ryan checked Martha's wounds. The one on her arm had reopened, and she had a new gash on her forehead that was bleeding freely. You need a hospital. I need Kane in handcuffs. Hospital can wait. You'll bleed out before... I've survived worse. Martha grabbed his hand. Listen to me. That radio Storm grabbed, it's Kane's secure channel. If we can crack the encryption, we'll know his every move. Ryan looked at the radio, then at Storm, who was watching him with obvious pride. Good girl, he murmured. Very good girl. Storm's tail wagged. There's a safe house, Martha continued. 20 miles west. FBI agent I trust, Jennifer Walsh. She's been building a case against Kane for years, but never had enough evidence. And now, Now you have a box full of Sarah's research. Martha smiled grimly. Let's give her something to work with. They flagged down a truck on the road, a farmer heading to town who didn't ask questions about their bloody clothes and exhausted dogs. He drove them to the outskirts of the next county, where Martha made a call from a payphone. 30 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up. A woman stepped out, tall, sharp-eyed, with the bearing of someone who'd spent decades in law enforcement. Sheriff Collins, you look like hell. Feel like it too. Agent Walsh, meet Commander Ryan Mitchell, Sarah's husband. Walsh's expression shifted. Sarah Mitchell. I knew her. Briefly before. She stopped. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. And this must be Emma. Walsh knelt to the little girl's level. Your mother talked about you constantly, said you were the bravest person she knew. Emma blinked. Mommy said that every time I saw her. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I miss her. I know, sweetheart. We all do. Walsh straightened. Let's get you somewhere safe. Then we can talk about how to finish what your mother started. The safe house was a cabin much like Ryan's, isolated, fortified, stocked with supplies. But this one had something Ryan's didn't. Technology. Computers lined one wall, their screens glowing with data. Communication equipment hummed quietly. Weapons were locked in a reinforced cabinet. This is your operation, Ryan asked. My obsession, Walsh admitted. Kane's network has been operating for 15 years. I've watched good agents get transferred, threatened, killed for getting too close. I've been building evidence, waiting for the right moment. And now I have something I never had before. Walsh looked at the metal box Ryan was carrying. Direct testimony from a K-9 unit commander who worked inside Kane's operation, and dogs who witnessed everything. Dogs can't testify in court. No, but their handlers can. And those dogs were trained to record. Ryan stared at her. What? Sarah didn't tell you. Walsh smiled slightly. Those collar tags aren't just identification. They're data storage devices. Everything those dogs saw and heard for the past 5 years is recorded and encrypted. Ryan looked at Thunder, who was sitting beside Emma, watching the conversation with intelligent eyes. You've been carrying evidence this whole time. Thunder's tail wagged. My God! Ryan ran a hand through his hair. Sarah, you brilliant, brilliant woman. She thought of everything. Walsh moved to her computer. Give me the tags, and I can start the decryption. It'll take time, but once it's done, we'll have enough to bring down Kane and everyone connected to him. Ryan removed the tags from each dog, carefully whispering apologies and thanks. The dogs accepted his touch with patience, understanding somehow that this was important. Emma helped her small fingers gentle with Luna's collar. You were hiding secrets, she told the dog, like a spy. Luna licked her face. A spy who gives kisses. Emma giggled. Ryan watched his daughter, marveling at her resilience. In the past 24 hours, she'd been attacked, chased, nearly captured, and forced to flee through dark tunnels. But here she was, giggling at a dog's kisses. Sarah's daughter, through and through. Commander. Walsh's voice was urgent. You need to see this. Ryan moved to her computer. On the screen was a news broadcast showing his farm, or what was left of it. The house was burned to the ground. Kane, Ryan whispered. He's sending a message. No going back. Walsh pulled up another window. But that's not the worst part. A photograph appeared, Emma's school picture from last year. Below it, text scrolled across a dark web forum. Wanted. Information on Emma Mitchell, age 6, $500,000 reward. Must be alive. Ryan's blood turned to ice. He put a bounty on my daughter. $500,000, that's enough to make every lowlife in the country a threat. Can you take it down? I can try, but these forums are like hydras. Cut off one head, 2 more appear. Walsh turned to face him. The only way to protect Emma is to take down Kane, publicly, completely. So there's no one left to pay the bounty. How long until the evidence is ready? 48 hours, maybe less. Emma doesn't have 48 hours. $500,000 people will be looking for her within the hour. Then we need to hide her. Where can a 6-year-old girl hide from the entire criminal underworld? The answer came from an unexpected source. With us. Everyone turned. Emma stood in the center of the room, surrounded by 5 dogs who had positioned themselves around her like a living fortress. Thunder won't let anyone take me. Neither will Shadow or Storm or Ranger or Luna. She looked at her father with Sarah's fierce determination. I'm safest with them, Daddy. You know I am. Ryan wanted to argue, wanted to scream that she was just a child, that she needed walls and locks and armed guards. But he looked at Thunder, who had carried her through darkness without faltering. At Shadow, who had attacked armed soldiers to protect her. At Storm Ranger and Luna, who had fought and bled and nearly died for a little girl in a red dress. These weren't just dogs. They were warriors, and they had chosen Emma as their mission. Okay, Ryan heard himself say. Okay, but I'm staying with you. All of us together. What about the evidence? Walsh asked. Someone needs to be here when the decryption finishes. Martha can handle it. You said you trust her. I do, but my daughter's life is worth more than any evidence. Ryan's voice left no room for argument. Sarah would understand. Sarah would want me to protect Emma first, no matter what. Walsh studied him for a long moment. You're right. She would. She sighed. There's a backup location. Old lighthouse on the coast about 200 miles from here. It's been decommissioned for decades. No one knows it exists except me and a few people I trust. Absolutely. How do we get there? I have a helicopter. Former military registered under a shell company. Kane won't be able to track it. A helicopter? Emma's eyes went wide. We get to ride in a helicopter. If your daddy says it's okay. Emma looked at Ryan with pleading eyes. Can we, Daddy, please? Despite everything, the fear, the danger, the $500,000 bounty on his daughter's head, Ryan laughed. Yeah, sweetheart. We can ride in the helicopter. Yes. Emma pumped her fist. This is the best adventure ever. Martha shook her head. That child is something else. She's her mother's daughter, Ryan said quietly. Through and through. The helicopter lifted off at midnight, its rotors cutting through the darkness like whispered prayers. Emma sat strapped between Thunder and Shadow, her face pressed to the window, watching the world shrink below them. Look, Daddy, I can see the whole forest. Amazing, isn't it? It's like being a bird or an angel. She paused. Do you think Mommy can see us from heaven? Ryan's throat tightened. I'm sure she can, baby. Then she knows we're being brave. She knows we're going to finish her mission. Yeah. Ryan reached over and squeezed her hand. She knows. The lighthouse appeared on the horizon as dawn broke a tall, weather-beaten structure, standing alone on a rocky cliff, waves crashing below. Walsh set the helicopter down on a landing pad that had seen better days. Home sweet home, she said. For the next 48 hours at least. They unloaded quickly. The dogs explored their new territory with professional thoroughness, checking every corner, every shadow, every potential threat. Emma was fascinated by everything. Look, Daddy, you can see the whole ocean from up here. Beautiful, isn't it? Mommy would have loved this. Emma's voice grew soft. She always said she wanted to live by the ocean someday. I know, sweetheart. I know. Do you think we can bring some of her ashes here so she can finally see the ocean? Ryan felt tears burn his eyes. That's the most beautiful idea I've ever heard. Emma smiled. It was Thunder's idea, really. He kept looking at the water like he wanted to show someone, and I thought maybe he wants to show Mommy. Ryan looked at the scarred German shepherd, who was sitting at the cliff's edge, gazing out at the endless sea. Sarah had always said Thunder was the smartest of the bunch. Turns out she was right. We'll do it, Ryan promised. When this is all over, we'll bring Mommy to the ocean. Promise? Promise. The first 24 hours passed without incident. Ryan stood watch while Emma slept surrounded by her canine guardians. Walsh monitored communications from the mainland, keeping track of Kane's movements. He's getting desperate, she reported. Pulled in every favor, called in every debt. He knows we have the evidence. He knows it's only a matter of time. Desperate men do desperate things, which is why we need to be ready. The second night brought trouble. Luna woke Ryan with a sharp bark, her body rigid with warning. What is it, girl? The dog ran to the window, looking down at the cliff base. Ryan followed, pulling out binoculars. Boats, 3 of them, moving toward the lighthouse without lights. We've got company. Walsh was beside him in an instant. How did they find us? Does it matter? Ryan was already moving. Wake Emma. Prepare for siege. But Emma was already awake, Thunder and Shadow flanking her, her small face pale but determined. The bad men found us again, didn't they? Yes, sweetheart, but we're ready for them. Okay. Emma straightened her little red dress. Then let's fight. Ryan looked at his daughter, at the dogs surrounding her at the lighthouse that would become their fortress. Kane had sent an army, but Ryan had something better. He had a 6-year-old girl who refused to give up, and 5 dogs who would die before letting anyone touch her. The boats hit the rocks below with a grinding crunch that echoed up the lighthouse walls. Ryan counted the figures climbing the cliff face, 12, maybe 15, their dark shapes moving like spiders against the moonlit stone. How many? Walsh's voice was steady, despite the fear Ryan knew she felt. Too many. Emma pressed closer to Thunder, her small fingers buried in his fur. The scarred dog hadn't moved from her side since the alarm, his body a wall of muscle and loyalty between her and whatever was coming. Daddy, I'm not scared. Ryan looked at his daughter. Her chin was lifted, her blue eyes fierce in the dim light. You should be, sweetheart. Thunder's here. You're here. Why would I be scared? Before Ryan could answer, Shadow's bark cut through the darkness, sharp, urgent warning. They were at the door. Emma, remember what we practiced. Hide until you call for me. Good girl. Ryan kissed her forehead. Thunder, Luna, protect her, no matter what. Both dogs moved immediately, flanking Emma as she retreated to the lighthouse keeper's quarters. The heavy door slammed shut behind them, and Ryan heard the lock click into place. Now it was just him, Walsh, Shadow, Storm, and Ranger against an army. Any chance you have more weapons stashed somewhere? Ryan asked. A few surprises. Walsh pulled open a cabinet, revealing an arsenal that would have made Ryan's SEAL team jealous. I've been preparing for Kane for a long time. Remind me to thank you for your paranoia. If we survive, you can buy me dinner. The first explosion shook the lighthouse. They'd blown the main door. Ryan raised his rifle as boots thundered up the spiral staircase. Shadow positioned himself at the landing, his growl building to a roar. The first attacker appeared, and Shadow was on him before his foot hit the floor. 90 pounds of military-trained fury drove the man backward into his teammates, sending 3 of them tumbling down the stairs in a tangle of limbs and curses. Ryan fired twice into the chaos, not to kill, but to scatter. Second entrance, Walsh shouted. Ranger was already moving his massive body, blocking a side door that Ryan hadn't even noticed. The door shuddered under impact from the other side, but Ranger held his ground, barking with enough fury to crack stone. How many entrances does this place have? 4. I've reinforced 3, but the basement access, a crash from below, cut her off. They were in the basement. Storm go, Ryan commanded. The Belgian Malinois vanished down a service ladder so fast she seemed to blur. Seconds later, screams and snarls erupted from somewhere beneath their feet. Your dogs are terrifying, Walsh said. Thank you. More attackers poured up the main stairs, pushing past their fallen comrades. Shadow couldn't hold them all. There were simply too many. Ryan grabbed Walsh and pulled her behind an overturned table. Gunfire tore through the air above their heads. "We need to move. They'll flank us in 30 seconds. Walsh pointed to a narrow door behind them. "Service tunnel. Leads to the cliff face. That's a dead end. Trust me." They ran. Shadow broke away from the fight and followed, his muzzle bloodied but his spirit unbroken. Ranger and Storm appeared from different directions, converging on their position with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Ryan paused at the lighthouse keeper's door. "Emma, we're moving Thunder. Bring her—" The door flew open. Thunder emerged first, his body low and ready. Emma clung to his back, Luna running beside them. "Daddy. Hold on tight, baby. Don't let go no matter what." They entered the service tunnel, a narrow passage that twisted through the lighthouse's ancient walls. Walsh led with a flashlight, Ryan brought up the rear, and Emma rode Thunder through the middle like a princess on the world's most dangerous horse. Behind them, Kane's men gave chase. "Left here," Walsh commanded. They turned, and suddenly the passage opened onto a ledge overlooking the churning ocean below. The drop was easily 100 feet. "This is your plan." Ryan stared at the void. "We jump." "Look down." He did. A boat was anchored below, small but seaworthy, its deck just visible in the moonlight. "My backup plan," Walsh said. "There's a rope ladder. It's old, but it should hold." "Should? Do you have a better idea?" Gunfire echoed from the tunnel behind them. "Ladies first." Walsh descended quickly, her years of field experience showing in every confident movement. She reached the boat and looked up. "It holds, send the girl." Ryan looked at Emma, still mounted on Thunder's back. "Sweetheart, you need to climb down. Can you do that?" Emma's face was pale, but she nodded. "I'm brave. Like Mommy." "Exactly like Mommy." She slid off Thunder and approached the ladder. Her small hands gripped the ropes, and she began to descend, slow and careful, one rung at a time. Thunder whined, watching her go. "I know, boy. I know." Luna went next, scrambling down the cliff face with agility that made the rope ladder look easy. Then Storm, her lighter frame barely swaying the ancient ropes. Shadow hesitated, looking at the drop with obvious unease. "Go, boy. I'm right behind you." The German shepherd took a breath, an oddly human gesture, and began his descent. That left Ryan, Thunder, and Ranger on the ledge, and Kane's men in the tunnel. "Commander Mitchell," a voice echoed from the darkness. "There's nowhere left to run." Ryan recognized that voice. Kane. "Your dogs can't protect you forever. Your daughter can't hide forever." Kane's words dripped with false sympathy. "Surrender the evidence and I'll make it quick, for both of you." "Counter offer," Ryan called back. "You surrender and I'll make sure you only spend 1 lifetime in prison instead of 2. Kane laughed. "Still playing hero. Sarah was the same way, right until the end." Ryan's finger tightened on the trigger. "Don't." Walsh's voice crackled through the radio. "Not yet. Get down here. We need you alive." She was right. He knew she was right. But God, he wanted to pull that trigger. "Ranger, go." The massive German shepherd obeyed his bulk, making the rope ladder creak ominously. Thunder remained. "You too, boy." Thunder didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the tunnel entrance, waiting for Kane to appear. "Thunder, go, now." The scarred dog looked at Ryan, really looked at him with eyes that held more intelligence than most humans possessed. Then he turned and descended the ladder, every step deliberate, every movement controlled. Ryan was alone. Kane stepped into view, flanked by 4 armed men. His silver hair gleamed in the moonlight, and his smile was the coldest thing Ryan had ever seen. "End of the line, Commander." "Funny, I was about to say the same thing." Ryan grabbed the rope ladder and dropped. Kane's men fired, but Ryan was already falling, his hands burning against the ropes as he slid more than climbed. The ocean rushed up to meet him, the boat growing larger with every heartbeat. He hit the deck hard, rolling to absorb the impact, and scrambled to his feet just as Walsh gunned the engine. The boat lurched forward, throwing spray into the night air. Above them, Kane's men fired from the cliff, but the darkness and distance made their shots wild. Bullets splashed harmlessly into the water around them. "Everyone okay?" Ryan shouted. "We're okay, Daddy." Emma's voice came from somewhere near the bow. "Thunder kept me safe." Ryan found her huddled between Thunder and Luna, both dogs pressed so close she was practically invisible. Shadowstorm and Ranger had positioned themselves around the perimeter, watching for threats even now. Walsh pushed the throttle to maximum. "We need to reach the mainland before dawn. I have contacts in Portland people Kane can't buy." "How far?" 4 hours, maybe 5. Ryan looked back at the lighthouse, shrinking in the distance. Flames were already licking at its ancient stones, Kane's men destroying any evidence of his secret refuge. "He'll follow us." "Probably. He won't stop, not until he has Emma and the evidence." "I know." Walsh's jaw tightened. "That's why we're not running anymore." "What do you mean?" "The decryption finished 2 hours ago. While you were fighting, I uploaded everything to secure servers, FBI, DOJ, 3 major news networks, and a dozen international outlets." Walsh smiled grimly. "By sunrise, Kane's entire network will be exposed. Every name, every transaction, every crime." Ryan stared at her. "You did what?" "Sarah's evidence was comprehensive, but the dog collar recordings were the key. Hours of conversations, video footage, financial discussions, all time-stamped, all verified, all impossible to deny." Walsh turned to face him. "It's over, Commander. Kane just doesn't know it yet." Emma's head appeared from between the dogs. "Does that mean we won?" "It means we're about to win, sweetheart." "But the bad man is still chasing us." "He won't be chasing us for long." Ryan knelt beside his daughter. "Remember what Mommy's letter said? Trust the dogs. Trust Thunder. He'll lead you to safety." "Thunder led us to you. And now he's going to lead all of us home." The boat cut through the dark water carrying its precious cargo toward dawn. 3 hours later, the first helicopter appeared. Not Kane's FBI. Walsh had called ahead, and a full tactical team was waiting when they reached the Portland harbor. Special Agent Jennifer Walsh was immediately surrounded by colleagues, all of them talking at once about the uploaded files about the media firestorm, already erupting about the arrest warrants being prepared. Ryan stood apart, Emma in his arms, 5 exhausted dogs at his feet. "Commander Mitchell." A young agent approached nervously. "I'm Agent Torres. I need to take your statement." "Not now." "Sir, it's urgent. The evidence you provided." "I said not now." Ryan's voice carried the weight of 48 hours without sleep and a lifetime of pain. "My daughter needs rest. My dogs need food and water. Everything else can wait." Torres looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Ryan's eyes changed his mind. "Yes, sir. I'll arrange accommodations." They were taken to a secure hotel, the kind with bulletproof windows and agents in the hallway. Emma was asleep before her head hit the pillow. Thunder curled at her feet, Shadow at her side. Ryan stood at the window watching the sun rise over Portland. His phone buzzed. "Walsh. Turn on the news." He found the remote and clicked through channels until he found CNN. Breaking story this morning as evidence emerges linking Captain Victor Kane, former head of Special Military Operations, to a vast criminal network spanning multiple states. Sources tell us that over 40 arrest warrants have been issued, including several high-ranking government officials. Ryan watched as Kane's photograph appeared on screen, followed by images of FBI raids, arrested suspects, and mountains of seized evidence. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a collection of modified dog collars containing years of recorded conversations and video footage. Our sources indicate that the evidence was gathered by Sarah Mitchell, an assistant U.S. attorney who died 2 years ago in what was originally ruled an accidental death. Sarah's photograph appeared. Ryan's chest tightened. Investigators now believe Mitchell was murdered to prevent her from exposing Kane's network. Her husband, a former Navy SEAL commander, and their young daughter are reportedly cooperating with authorities. Emma's voice came from behind him. "Daddy, is that Mommy on TV?" Ryan turned. His daughter was sitting up in bed, Thunder's head in her lap, watching the screen with wide eyes. "Yes, baby. That's Mommy." "What are they saying about her?" Ryan knelt beside the bed. "They're saying she was very brave. They're saying she fought bad people and tried to protect innocent people. They're saying—" His voice cracked. "They're saying she was a hero." Emma looked at the television at her mother's smiling face. "I knew that already." "I know you did, sweetheart." "Daddy." "Yeah. Can we go home now?" Ryan thought about their farm burned to the ground, nothing but ashes and memories. He thought about all the places they'd run, all the nights they'd spent hiding, all the fear that had defined their lives for 2 years. "Our old home is gone, baby, but we'll build a new one. Together. Can Thunder and Storm and Ranger and Luna live with us?" Ryan looked at the 4 police dogs, all of whom had raised their heads at their names. "I think they'd like that very much." Emma smiled, the first real smile Ryan had seen from her since this nightmare began. "Good, because they're family now, and family stays together." Thunder's tail thumped against the mattress. "Forever?" Emma asked the scarred dog. Thunder licked her face. "I think that means yes," Ryan said. His phone buzzed again. This time a text from Walsh. "Kane in custody. Arrested 30 minutes ago trying to flee to Mexico. It's really over." Ryan read the message twice, 3 times, making sure the words were real. Then he sat on the bed beside his daughter, buried his face in his hands, and wept. Not tears of grief this time. Tears of relief. Tears of justice. Tears for Sarah, who had fought alone and died alone, but whose sacrifice had finally been rewarded. Emma wrapped her small arms around him. "It's okay, Daddy. Mommy's watching. She knows we won." "Yeah, baby." Ryan pulled her close, surrounded by dogs who had crossed impossible distances to keep them safe. "She knows." Outside the window, the sun climbed higher, flooding the room with golden light. And somewhere Ryan was certain Sarah was smiling. 3 months later, Emma Mitchell walked into federal court wearing her red dress. She had outgrown it slightly, the hem now fell above her knees instead of below. But she refused to wear anything else. Not today. Not for this. Thunder walked beside her, his scarred face drawing whispers from everyone they passed. The judge had granted special permission for the dogs to attend, citing their role as both evidence and protection. All 5 of them filed into the gallery, taking positions around Emma like sentinels. Ryan sat directly behind her, his hand resting on her shoulder. "You ready for this, sweetheart? I've been ready since the barn, Daddy." The courtroom filled quickly. Reporters crammed into the back rows, their cameras and notebooks ready. FBI agents lined the walls. Martha Collins sat near the front. Her wounds healed, but her eyes still carrying the weight of everything she'd witnessed. And at the defendant's table, in an orange jumpsuit and shackles, sat Victor Kane. He looked smaller than Emma remembered. Prison had stripped away his confidence, leaving behind a hollow man with dead eyes and trembling hands. When he glanced in her direction, she didn't flinch. Thunder growled softly. "Shh," Emma whispered. "Not yet." The judge entered and everyone rose. "This court is now in session. The United States versus Victor Kane. The prosecution may present its first witness." The prosecutor stood, a tall woman with silver hair and fierce eyes. "Your Honor, the prosecution calls Emma Mitchell." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Ryan squeezed Emma's shoulder. "Remember what we talked about. Just tell the truth." "The truth is easy, Daddy. Lying is what's hard." She walked to the witness stand, her small boots clicking against the marble floor. The bailiff held a Bible, and Emma placed her hand on it. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I swear." She climbed into the witness chair, her feet dangling above the floor. From this angle, she could see everything: the jury, the judge, the cameras, and Kane's face as he stared at her with something that might have been hatred or fear. "Please state your name for the record." Emma Rose Mitchell, I turned 7 last month. Emma, I know this is difficult. Take your time. Can you tell us what happened on the morning of March 15th? Emma took a deep breath. I woke up early to feed the chickens. That's my job every morning. Shadow came with me like he always does. She pointed to the German Shepherd in the gallery. But when I got to the old barn, the door was open. Daddy always keeps it locked. What did you find inside? 4 dogs. Police dogs. They were sitting in a row watching me. At first I was scared because they were so big, but then Thunder came up to me. Thunder. The one with the scar on his eye. Emma pointed again. He's the leader. He walked up to me real slow and I could tell he wasn't going to hurt me. He looked sad. Really sad. So I let him sniff my hand and then he licked it. What happened next? I ran to get Daddy. He came to the barn, and when he saw the dogs, he started crying. Emma's voice softened. I'd never seen Daddy cry before, not ever. Did your father recognize the dogs? He said they were his team. From before I was born. He thought they were dead, but Mommy saved them. Objection. Kane's lawyer stood. The witness is speculating about events she couldn't possibly... Your Honor, we have documented evidence that Sarah Mitchell arranged for the dog's protection. The witness is recounting what she was told by her father. Overruled. Continue. Emma looked directly at Kane. Mommy knew the bad man was going to hurt her, so she hid the dogs and gave them a secret message to carry. She knew they would find us when the time was right. What was in that message? A letter, and a picture of me when I was a baby playing with the dogs. Emma's eyes glistened. Mommy wrote that she loved us, that she was sorry she couldn't be there, and that Thunder would protect me no matter what. Did Thunder protect you? Yes. When the bad man came to our farm with soldiers, Thunder carried me to safety. He wouldn't let anyone touch me. Can you identify the man who came to your farm? Emma raised her hand and pointed. Him, Victor Kane. The courtroom erupted. Order. The judge banged his gavel. There will be order in this court. Kane's face had gone white. His lawyer was whispering frantically in his ear, but Kane wasn't listening. His eyes were locked on Emma, this small girl in her red dress who had just sealed his fate. Emma. The prosecutor continued. Can you tell us what Kane said when he arrived at your farm? He said he owned everything. The dogs, the evidence, me. Emma's voice didn't waver. He said he was going to hurt Daddy. Make him watch bad things happen. He told his soldiers to take me. Were you afraid? Yes. But Thunder was there. And Daddy. And Shadow and Storm and Ranger and Luna. Emma lifted her chin. They taught me that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared. One final question, Emma. Do you know why Kane wanted to hurt your family? Because Mommy found out what he was doing. She collected evidence and hid it in the dog's collars. He killed her to keep her quiet. Emma's voice cracked, but she forced herself to continue. But Mommy was smarter than him. She knew the truth would come out someday. She knew Thunder would find us. No further questions. The defense attorney approached carefully. Every person in the courtroom was watching, waiting to see how he would handle a 7-year-old witness who had just delivered the most damning testimony of the trial. Emma, you've been through a lot. It's understandable if you're confused about certain details. I'm not confused. But you were only 6 when these events occurred. Children sometimes mix up. I remember everything. Emma's voice turned cold. I remember Kane's voice when he threatened Daddy. I remember his soldiers pointing guns at us. I remember running through dark tunnels while they chased us. I remember being on a boat while they shot at us. Surely, I remember Thunder carrying me when I was too tired to walk. I remember Shadow fighting to protect me. I remember Storm and Ranger and Luna never giving up no matter how scared they were. Emma leaned forward. Do you want me to keep going because I can remember a lot more? The defense attorney retreated. No further questions. Emma climbed down from the witness stand and walked back to her seat. As she passed Kane, she stopped. Everyone held their breath. "Mommy forgave you," Emma said quietly. In her letter, she said she forgave you because holding on to hate would only hurt us. But I don't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe someday. But not today. Kane's mouth opened, but no words came out. Emma continued to her seat, surrounded by 5 dogs who hadn't taken their eyes off her for a single second. The trial lasted 2 more weeks. Witness after witness took the stand. FBI agents presented the evidence from the dogs' collars, hours of recorded conversations that left no doubt about Kane's guilt. Financial experts traced millions in illegal transactions. Former associates granted immunity in exchange for testimony, described Kane's operations in devastating detail. Martha Collins testified about surviving Kane's assassination attempt, about hiding the dogs for 2 years, about Sarah Mitchell's courage and sacrifice. Ryan told his story, the years of service, the growing suspicion, the desperate flight to Montana, and the morning when 4 impossible dogs appeared in his barn and changed everything. Throughout it all, Thunder Shadow. Storm Ranger and Luna remained in the courtroom, silent witnesses to the justice their fallen handler had fought so hard to achieve. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman stood. We have, Your Honor. On the count of first-degree murder in the death of Sarah Mitchell. Guilty. Emma squeezed Ryan's hand. On the counts of attempted murder, racketeering, and corruption of federal officials. Guilty on all counts. Kane slumped in his chair, his face a mask of disbelief. On the count of conspiracy to endanger a minor. Guilty. The courtroom erupted. Reporters rushed for the exits. FBI agents moved to secure Kane for transport. But Emma stayed in her seat, watching as marshals led the man who had destroyed her family toward a future of concrete and bars. Kane passed within feet of her. This isn't over, he hissed. I have friends everywhere. You'll never be safe. Thunder rose with a growl that shook the air. Kane flinched backward, nearly falling. Yes, it is, Emma said calmly. Goodbye, Mr. Kane. And Victor Kane, Master of Shadows, destroyer of lives, was led away to spend the rest of his days in a cage. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. Emma stood between Ryan and Martha, 5 dogs arranged around them like a living shield. Commander Mitchell, how does it feel to finally have justice for your wife? Ryan thought for a moment before answering. Justice doesn't bring Sarah back. Nothing can do that. But knowing that her sacrifice wasn't in vain, that her courage inspired our daughter, that her planning saved us all? His voice cracked. That's enough. That has to be enough. Emma, what will you do now? Emma looked up at the reporter, her red dress bright against the gray courthouse steps. I'm going to go home. I'm going to eat ice cream with my dogs, and I'm going to talk to Mommy and tell her we won. You talk to your mother. Every day. She can hear me from heaven. Emma smiled. She always could. 1 year later, the Mitchell farm had risen from the ashes. Not identical to before, nothing could be identical, but something new. Something better. A place built on healing instead of hiding, on hope instead of fear. Emma's room faced east so she could watch the sunrise every morning with Thunder at her feet. Her walls were covered in photographs, Mommy laughing, Daddy smiling, all 5 dogs in various poses of dignity and silliness. The old barn had been transformed into the Mitchell Canine Rehabilitation Center, a haven for retired police and military dogs. Martha ran the day-to-day operations, her skills and dedication making her perfect for the job. Thunder Shadow. Storm Ranger and Luna weren't patients. They were permanent residents, beloved staff members who helped socialize the newcomers and showed them that life after service could be filled with love. On this particular morning, a special ceremony was taking place. Are you sure about this? Ryan asked, adjusting his collar. Daddy, you've asked me that 17 times. I just want to make sure. I'm sure. Emma straightened his tie with practiced efficiency. Mommy would want this. I want this. Stop being nervous. I'm not nervous. Your hands are shaking. Ryan looked down. She was right. Okay, maybe a little nervous. Martha appeared in the doorway. They're ready for you. They walked together to the garden where Sarah's ashes had been scattered, a beautiful space filled with wildflowers and the sound of ocean waves in the distance. A crowd had gathered. FBI agents, friends, neighbors, reporters who had covered the trial. And at the front, standing beside a small altar decorated with white roses, was Agent Jennifer Walsh. She was wearing a simple white dress, her usually severe expression softened by a smile that transformed her entire face. Finally, she murmured as Ryan approached. I was starting to think you'd run away. Never. Not from you. The ceremony was brief, but beautiful. Vows were exchanged, rings were placed, and when the officiant pronounced them, husband and wife, 5 dogs howled in celebration. Emma stood as the maid of honor. Her red dress replaced just for today with a pale pink gown that Sarah had bought for her years ago, still in its original wrapping, discovered in a storage unit with a note. For Emma's first formal occasion. Make sure she knows I'll be watching. You may now kiss the bride. Ryan pulled Jennifer close, and the crowd erupted in applause. Emma watched her father's face, the joy, the peace, the love that had been absent for so long, finally returning. Mommy, she whispered, too quiet for anyone else to hear. I hope you're okay with this. Jennifer's really nice. She saved us just like you planned. I think you'd like her. Thunder pressed against her leg, his scarred face tilted up toward hers. You think Mommy's okay with it, don't you? The dog's tail wagged slowly. Yeah, me too. 10 years later. Emma Mitchell, 17 years old, stood at the podium of the National Law Enforcement Memorial Ceremony. She had grown into a beautiful young woman, tall and confident, with her mother's eyes and her father's quiet strength. The red dress had long since been outgrown, but she wore a red ribbon pinned to her jacket. Always. In every photo, at every event. Behind her sat Ryan and Jennifer, their second child, a boy named Daniel, asleep in Jennifer's arms. Martha was there too, grayer now but still fierce, still dedicated to the center that had become her life's work. And beside them, in a place of honor, lay Thunder. The great German shepherd was old now, 16, ancient for his breed, his muzzle white, his movements slow, his eyes clouded but still watchful. Shadow had passed 3 years prior peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by the family he loved. Storm followed a year later. Ranger and Luna went within months of each other, as if they couldn't bear to be separated. But Thunder held on, waiting as he always had for one final mission. Today, we honor the canine officers who gave everything in service of justice. Emma said, her voice carrying across the silent crowd. Dogs like Thunder, Shadow, Storm, Ranger, and Luna, who didn't just serve their country, but saved a little girl and helped bring down one of the most dangerous criminal networks in American history. She paused, gathering herself. But I'm not here just to talk about what they did. I'm here to talk about what they taught me. They taught me that loyalty isn't a word, it's an action. It's showing up when things are hard. It's fighting when you're scared. It's waiting years if that's what it takes for the right moment to make things right. Emma looked at Thunder. My mother gave her life for justice. My father nearly gave his, but these 5 dogs, they gave something even more precious. They gave their hearts. Completely. Unconditionally. Without asking for anything in return, except the chance to protect the people they loved. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her voice didn't waver. Thunder is 16 years old now. Every morning he still checks my room before he'll eat breakfast. Every night he still lies at the foot of my bed watching the door. He doesn't do it because he's trained. He does it because he loves me. Because my mother asked him to. And because that's who he is. The crowd was silent, many wiping their eyes. I'm going to law school next fall. I want to prosecute the people who hurt the innocent, just like my mother did. And when I stand in those courtrooms, I'll remember what Thunder taught me. That justice isn't just about winning cases. It's about protecting the ones who can't protect themselves. It's about standing up when everyone else sits down. It's about love. Real love, the kind that doesn't give up, doesn't give in, and doesn't look away. She stepped back from the podium. These dogs deserve more than medals. They deserve to be remembered. Not just as canine officers, but as heroes. As family. As proof that the bond between humans and dogs is something sacred. Something that can survive any trial, overcome any enemy, and change the world. The applause was thunderous. Emma walked to Thunder and knelt beside him, not caring about her formal clothes or the cameras flashing. "We did it, boy," she whispered. "We told everyone about you and your friends, about Mommy, about what really matters." Thunder lifted his head slowly and licked her cheek, the same gesture he'd made on that morning 11 years ago, when a scared little girl in a red dress had walked into a barn and found 4 dogs waiting for her. "I love you, Thunder. I'll love you forever." Thunder's tail wagged weakly. That night on the Mitchell farm, Emma sat in the garden where Sarah's ashes had been scattered. Thunder lay beside her, his breathing slow and shallow. The old dog had been declining for weeks, and Emma knew, they all knew, that the end was near. "Remember when you carried me through the forest?" she whispered, stroking his fur. "I was so scared, but you never were. You just ran, and I held on to your neck, and I just knew, that you would never let anything happen to me." Thunder's eyes met hers, still bright despite his age. "Mommy sent you to protect me, and you did. For 11 years you never left my side. Not once. Not when I was sick, not when I was sad, not when I had nightmares about Cain and the bad men." Emma wiped her tears. "You were always there. Always." Ryan appeared behind her, his own eyes red. "He's waiting for you to tell him it's okay." "What?" "He's held on this long because he's worried about you. He needs to know you'll be all right without him." Emma looked at Thunder, at the scar over his eye, at the white in his muzzle, at the love that radiated from every fiber of his ancient being. "Is that true, boy? Are you waiting for me?" Thunder's tail moved once. Emma pulled him close, burying her face in his fur. "It's okay, Thunder. You can rest now. You've done everything Mommy asked. You've protected me. You've kept your promise. It's okay to let go." She felt his body relax against hers. "I'll be all right. I have Daddy and Jennifer and Daniel. I have the memories of you and Shadow and Storm and Ranger and Luna. I have everything you taught me." Her voice broke. "You can go now, boy. Mommy's waiting for you. Go find her. Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm brave, just like she wanted me to be." Thunder lifted his head one last time. He licked Emma's face, one final kiss, one final goodbye. Then he closed his eyes and was still. Emma held him for a long time, crying into his fur, feeling his warmth slowly fade. Ryan knelt beside her. "He's with Mommy now, and Shadow and Storm and Ranger and Luna." "I know." Emma looked up at the stars. "They're all together, running and playing and being young again. Just like they should be. Daddy." "Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you for letting them stay, for making them family." They were always family, Emma. From the moment they walked into that barn, they buried Thunder beside his companions in the garden overlooking the ocean. The headstone read simply, "Thunder, Shadow, Storm, Ranger, Luna." They waited. They fought. They loved. Forever faithful. 20 years later. Emma Mitchell, 37 years old, stood in that same garden with her own daughter. The little girl was 6, blonde hair, blue eyes, wearing a red dress that her grandmother had never gotten to see. "Mommy, who are they?" Emma knelt beside her daughter. "They're heroes, sweetheart, the bravest dogs who ever lived." "What did they do?" "They saved me. When I was little, just like you, some bad people tried to hurt me and Grandpa. But these 5 dogs came to protect us. They fought when everyone else ran. They never gave up, no matter how scared they were." "Were you scared?" "Very scared. But Thunder, he's the one with the star shape on his gravestone. He carried me to safety. He took care of me for years and years. The little girl traced the names on the headstone. Thunder, Shadow, Storm, Ranger, Luna. She looked up. They have pretty names. They were pretty dogs, inside and out. Do you miss them? Emma felt tears threaten, but she smiled through them. Every day, but I also feel them with me. When I'm scared, I remember how brave they were. When I'm sad, I remember how much they loved me. And when I need strength, I remember that 5 dogs crossed an entire country to keep me safe, because my mommy asked them to. Your mommy was Grandma Sarah. Yes, Grandma Sarah. I wish I could have met her. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Emma pulled her daughter close. But you know what part of her lives on. In me, in you, in the stories we tell. And part of her lives in these dogs too. Because she trusted them with her most precious treasure. What treasure? Me. Emma kissed her daughter's forehead. And now you're my most precious treasure. So if any bad people ever try to hurt you, I'll fight for you just like Thunder fought for me. Will dogs come save me too? Emma laughed. If they do, make sure to let them lick your face. That's how they say, I love you. Mother and daughter walked back to the farmhouse hand in hand, leaving the garden quiet except for the sound of waves and wind. But if you listened closely, really closely, you could hear something else. The echo of paws running through tall grass, the whisper of tails wagging in sunlight. The gentle breathing of loyal hearts, still watching, still protecting, still loving across time and space and death itself. Because some bonds are stronger than endings. Some promises outlast the ones who made them, and some heroes, the ones with 4 legs and faithful hearts, never truly leave us. They just wait, until we're ready to find them again. The end.